have never skipped a meditation in those 55 years. Perhaps I'm obsessive compulsive. The mind has a natural tendency to seek a field of greater happiness.
Ladies and gentlemen, get ready for Wisdom Talks. And today's host, Amartat Kohn, director of Sunseed.
Do you think that meditation itself is essential for this future that we're hopefully creating and raising consciousness?
Some kind of meditation, I think, for most people can be very effective. And we'll talk about it more as we go along. But in my book, it should be effortless. It should be almost immediately productive of some benefit, and therefore enjoyable, and therefore easy to practice regularly. If it's unpleasant, if it's a strain, if it's a struggle, you're not going to stick with it.
Can you tell us a little bit about what is your practice and what benefits you've seen?
Yeah. So as we've discussed, I learned TM, and that was back in July of 1968. And I began practicing it regularly twice a day. And I have never skipped a meditation in those 55 years. Perhaps I'm obsessive compulsive, but maybe OCD can be your friend, you know? And it was like from day one, first sitting, enjoyable and relieved a lot of stress. And I just felt better right away. So I just vowed to keep doing it. And I still practice a meditation similar to that, although I got a mantra from Mata Amritanandamai about 23 years ago, and I meditate in that style with that mantra. 3 times a day, maybe, you know, morning and before breakfast, the evening before dinner, and then usually before I go to sleep, and sometime in the middle of the night, also at 4 a.m. or something, and then I'll sleep a little bit more and get up. And it's a mantra meditation. And I also do some yoga asanas in a sloppy kind of way, just to stay limber and flexible.
Does the mantra yoga practice include breath as well? Because most of the other practices also include breath in some form.
No, it doesn't. I mean, if you're doing some yoga, you can do some pranayama, but that's different than what I'm talking about.
So it starts with a concentration practice, not necessarily...
No.
I don't know how to describe it.
Yeah. Okay. Well, if you want to get into it. So
I do.
Yeah.
We're here to become enlightened on the spot, right?
Right. So, Jesus said the kingdom of heaven is within you, right? And the Vedanta says that Brahman is Sat Chit Ananda, existence, consciousness, bliss. And the Bhagavad Gita says contact with Brahman is infinite joy. And so all these traditions say that there's a reservoir of happiness deep within us somewhere, the kingdom of heaven or Ananda or whatever. And so if that's true, and if that's there, how come we don't experience it? I think the reason we don't experience it is, well, there could be detailed explanations, but that our senses by design are outer directed. I'm looking at the computer right now, and then I'll be eating lunch, and we're always engaged in outer directed activities, and that becomes habitual from childhood, and we just don't have a means or a method of turning within to experience that inner bliss. But there are vehicles. So if the senses, so let's take thinking, for example. Thought is said by some to be a subtler aspect of the sense of hearing. And also there's subtler aspect of vision. If you visualize the Grand Canyon, you're experiencing a subtler aspect of the sense of vision. And the same is true for all the other senses. But we're more familiar with the subtler aspect of the sense of hearing than with the subtler aspect of the other senses, at least most of us, because we think thoughts. So where do those thoughts come from? Well, it's said that they bubble up from deep in the mind, and we're not aware of them until they reach, a certain level of grossness or loudness, you could say, for us to become consciously aware of them. So the kind of meditation I'm talking about here uses thought as a vehicle to traverse in the other direction, to ride a thought down from gross to subtle to subtler to subtler to transcendent. And as one does that, well, firstly, it doesn't involve concentration, because as one does that, one encounters greater charm or greater fulfillment or greater happiness at each stage of settling. And that is kind of a self-reinforcing process. The mind just sort of goes naturally in that direction when it encounters greater charm. And then, not always, but could easily arrive at a state of complete de-excitation and enjoy pure awareness without any thought whatsoever, which would be turiya, as it's called in Sanskrit. Which turiya means fourth. It's a fourth state, waking, dreaming, sleeping being the other three. Concentration would imply that you need to hold the mind on something. And if the mind is not encountering charm in the object that you're trying to hold it on, it's going to object. It's going, like, you put a little kid down in front of Meet the Press and it'll have a hard time getting him to sit there. But if you put him down in front of, SpongeBob SquarePants or something, he'll just be absorbed in it because that's enjoyable for him. So our attention naturally gravitates towards things which are more enjoyable and doesn't want to stay on things which are not enjoyable. So that there's to reiterate, the mind has a natural tendency to seek a field of greater happiness. And that natural tendency is what's used in the mechanics of this Bhavatit Dhyan, as it's called, or the Transcendental Meditation.
I would love it if you would share with us a little meditation before we say good night to everyone or good morning to everyone.
Okay.
And thank you again for that. We will turn it over to you.
Yeah. So I've never done this before on a video. And I used to teach, TM back in the early 70s, and I'm not going to teach TM right now, but I'm going to go through a few steps that are sort of based upon some of the principles of it. And about an hour ago, we were talking about how there's a deep reservoir of inner happiness within us all, and we can access that if we sort of have the right means. And that it doesn't involve effort or concentration to do so. So I'd like to, now many people listening might have a mantra that they got from somebody at some point. And maybe if you don't have a mantra, then I'll offer you an alternative. But for starters, let's just all close our eyes for about half a minute, and I'll tell you when to open them. Okay, let's open our eyes. Now, did you notice that when you closed your eyes, you just settled down a little bit? You felt some quietness or some silence or some restfulness or something like that. Did you notice that, Amartat?
I did, yes.
Yeah, I think probably everyone noticed that. And okay, let's just close our eyes again for a few moments. Now let's open our eyes. All right. Did you feel some quietness again, some silence?
Yes,
Good.
I definitely did.
And did you happen to notice that some thoughts bubbled up while you were sitting there with your eyes closed? Any thoughts?
Definitely. I was thinking about my brother and you meeting each other.
Okay. And did you notice how effortlessly you thought those thoughts? Didn't take any concentration, didn't take any effort. They bubbled on their own.
True.
True. And that's the way we always think thoughts. All right. So we're going to close our eyes again. And this time, when we close our eyes, if you have a mantra, after a little bit, begin to think the mantra as effortlessly as you think any other thoughts. And if you don't have a mantra of some kind, then perhaps just put your attention gently, without concentration. Let your attention dwell in the heart area, and we'll just do that for a little while. Pick up the mantra, repeat it effortlessly. Don't try to think it clearly or concentrate on it. It's just a faint idea, like any other thought. All right, let's close our eyes. Okay, let's slowly open our eyes. Was that easy for you?
Yeah, it was. It was easy. I didn't know what I was doing, but I didn't care. I used actually the mantra my brother gave me from Maharishi.
Yeah. So now, if you do it more than 3 minutes, if you do it for 20 minutes or 30 minutes or something like that, in that effortless way that I described, you'll notice something, especially, if you start doing it regularly. It, it definitely, I'd say that even though, most of my meditations over the years have had thoughts in them, there have been few, if any, in which there has not been at least some settling down, sometimes quite profoundly. And a regular practice like that has cumulative effects. It changes the not only the mind, but it actually changes the neurophysiology. And there have been a lot of studies on that showing changes in the brain and various other aspects of the physiology. And as Jesus said, the body is the temple of the soul. It's the instrument through which we experience anything. What to say of enlightenment? It's the instrument through which we experience lunch, but it's certainly the instrument through which enlightenment is lived. And the instrument needs to be refined for that realization to occur, purified and refined. We can't just throw all kinds of garbage into it and expect it to be able to clearly reflect pure consciousness or function in an optimum way. So, meditation is one way of refining it. And obviously there are many other things in life that we need to take care of, like, regular exercise and healthy food and fresh air and, fulfilling relationships and many other things that make a life.
We're also grateful for you to have spent this time with us. I know you're a very busy man and doing all sorts of wonderful things in the world. So thank you, Rick Archer, so much. Thank you, your wife, for allowing this to happen. I know she helps program your schedule and everything else and does many more things, I'm sure.
Well, thank you, Amartat. Thanks for staying up till 1:30 in the morning in Malaysia, which I guess is routine for you because you have to interface with all of us Western Hemisphere folks.
It's true. And to all of our audience, this Wisdom Talk will be available on our website. We'll let you know. It's usually down the road because we do some editing on it. But you can go to sunseedstudio.org, and then you can sign up for our mailing list. You'll get all sorts of things. And in fact, we're just now coming out with a phone application, so that we're just now coming out with a phone application, so you'll be able to look at Sunseed, the journey, and even now the original Sunseed movie. We're going to put it all up on our phone app. So stay tuned. You'll soon be able to get Sunseed Studio on your phone through the Apple Store, or the Google Store. But definitely come back and see this interview. Invite your friends to take a look at it. And we're so grateful for you all who have joined us. We'll be back very soon with more Wisdom Talks. Wishing you all a good afternoon, a good night, a good morning, wherever you are. May the long time Sunseed shine upon you.